today and then Wednesday, we will finish out chapter 1. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about absolute value equations. Tomorrow, you're going to have a to be graded assignment. Wednesday, we're going to talk about literal equations. We'll practice them again Thursday. And then it's time for a test. Now, we have a 4-day weekend this weekend. So we're going to start reviewing Friday. We're going to finish reviewing Wednesday. And then we'll take the test Friday because we have map testing that Thursday. Yeah. Next week. Next week. I don't remember which one it is. 7, 8, 9.
What period are we in for?
This one. Period 7. Okay. Okay. All right. So I would like someone to describe to me what an absolute value means. A distance, a number is from 0. All right. So if we talk about 5, its absolute value is 5. You don't need to write this down. Okay, this is just kind of our little review because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is 5 units away from 0. -5 also has an absolute value of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because -5 is 5 units away from 0. Okay, so let's remember that this is the notation, these vertical bars. Okay, and let's remember that 5 and -5 both have absolute values of 5. 3 and -3 both have absolute values of 3. We can keep going. It's time for that. Okay. Thank you. All right, so if you would please turn to in your journals to this page right here, we're going to talk about an absolute value equation. Okay, now I bet that you could write the definition of this without me having to tell you, but an absolute value is, or an absolute value equation is an equation with, involving an absolute value. So I wanted you to have a reminder of what absolute value meant, so that when we're seeing these in equations, it's not like, whoa, what's happening? Okay, now you're going to see today that it's possible for us to have extraneous solutions. Extraneous, that's a weird word. Okay, so extraneous solutions are solutions that we get algebraically but they don't actually work when you plug them back in. Okay, so algebraically, I solve for an answer, but when I put it back in, it doesn't make sense. So it's extraneous. Okay, really, you need to check your answers. And if your answers aren't working, there's no solution. We have extraneous, okay. I will explain to you the only time you will get extraneous solutions. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's remember some things about an absolute value. Okay, let's remember that an absolute value is always positive. Okay, remember my shirt that I wore last week? It said avoid negativity. Okay, an absolute value turns a number to be positive. Okay, so the absolute value of A and the absolute value of -A are going to have the same answer. It's hard work. I'm so sorry that you're still struggling with that. Okay, now this is important to note that if we have two numbers multiplied inside of an absolute value, we can split them up like this. I don't know if it's necessarily going to need to happen today, but that is something that's mathematically legal. Okay, also the same thing with division. Thank you. Mathematically, it is legal to take a fraction inside of an absolute value and split it up. Okay. All right, turn the page. Okay, hustle. All right. So here we go. If we have an equation that looks like this, then we know whatever is inside the absolute value could be positive, could be negative, and we would still have the same absolute value. Okay. Like let's come up here. We know that we already talked about 5 and -5 having the same absolute value, right? So if I wrote the absolute value of x equals 5, then I could say, oh, x could be -5 or x could be 5, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to do with this. If I have an expression inside of my absolute value, and that absolute value equals some number, well, then inside the absolute value could equal C, or it could equal -C. Go take your highlighter and highlight those 3 things. Do it now. The things that I highlighted up there. For those of you who like words, we're going to take our absolute value. We're going to take the bars off. We're going to set one of the equations equal to C. And then we're going to write another equation. Absolute value bars are gone. And it's going to equal -C. Cool. Okay. All right. Now, I feel like we need to be very careful with how we organize our work. So I have a little helpful tool for you. Okay. So I'm going to hand you this pink piece of paper. And I want you to fold it like a book. So this is the cover, and then you open it up to more examples. Okay. And this is what we're going to do the rest of our notes on. And I'll show you how you can put that into your. Okay, so you're taking this piece of paper and you're going to fold it like a book for our examples.
I don't know.
There we go. A book. So absolute value equations is like your cover. Here, can you hold your paper? So we're going to start off with 3. Why aren't you doing this? Hold it. Hi. Is this already my new one? Thank you.
Have you seen where we stop this?
He's probably rubbing the hose.
Probably.
Are you an aid right now? Are you an aid right now? No, this is him.
New stop is probably good.
Did you just find that in the lunchroom? Will you tell Miss Armstrong that you found that? Because I was going to have her make me a new one. Okay, thank you. Okay, so here we go. Eventually, I'll have you like take this into your journal, but right now we're just going to focus on the math. Okay, so the absolute value of x equals 3. Well, that means that x could equal 3 or x could equal -3.
sense. We don't have any like open notebook tests.
So I'm gonna plot 3 and -3 on a number line to represent the solutions that I found. Yes.
Wait, so if it's absolute value and we're trying to get in this, oh wait. Can it be like more than the number? Or no, just absolutely be 3, because
Just 3. Now, if next unit, we're gonna put like an inequality, and then it could be like more numbers, but we're just gonna do the 3 and -3. Okay, cool. Now, this is maybe a little bit easier to do right now because our equations aren't too complicated, but I am going to make you always check.
Do they have to take up the whole number line or not?
It wouldn't have to take up the whole number line, no. So is the absolute value of 3 equal to 3? Yep. Is the absolute value of -3 equal to 3? Yep. Okay, so we checked our answers. We're good to go. All right.
That would be the same thing.
Now, this other example, here we go. The absolute value of x equals 2. Well, the absolute value of x equals 2 means x could equal 2 or x could equal -2. And we will plot those numbers on the number line. Do the third one for me also.
Got it.
I feel like I'm trapped. Well, I can't get through there and I can't get through here and I can't get through here. People's backpacks. I know, but just put your backpack like over here so like I can still like get through. Okay. On this one at the bottom, x equals everybody? And x equals? And you're like, Mrs. Holman, you're boring me. Okay, open up the book. It's the same thing, but we have a little bit more excitement in our life, okay? Now I have the absolute value of x minus 1 equals 2. So as long as the absolute value is isolated and it equals a number, we can split it off into our 2 equations. So whatever is inside of our absolute value is 2 units away from 0. So inside the x minus 1 could equal 2, or inside could equal -2, because both 2 and 2 have the same distance from 0. Okay, so over here, x equals what? 3. Oof. Our enthusiasm is just overwhelming. Thank you, Colin. Okay. Over here, when I add 1 to both sides, x equals?
2.
How about -1?
Good call.
Are we okay with -1? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm tired.
Nathan, all fours.
I'm tired of this.
I can't do that.
That's
Now,
fire.
we better check our answers before we get too wrapped up into plotting these. Let's check. Is the absolute value of 3 minus 1 equal to 2? Okay, I think we're okay there. So now let's come over to the other one. Is the absolute value of x minus 1 equal to 2? Yeah, we're okay, aren't we? Is it? Okay, what did I do? I took x, I plugged in our -1, -1 minus 1, definitely minus 2. And the absolute value of -2 is definitely 2.
That makes sense.
So we're good. Guess what's wrong? These are absolute values. Because we have an absolute value equation. So we have -1 as a solution. And 3 as a solution.
That makes sense.
What doesn't make sense? Okay, let's review what we did so that we can do the next one. I took my absolute value equation. The absolute value equals a number. So what's inside the absolute value equals 2 or could equal -2. And then I had 2 separate equations to
I don't
solve.
understand the number line. Why it says -1 and 3.
I'll make this very simple for you.
Okay.
-1 was an answer and 3 was an answer.
So it doesn't have to-
So I plotted them on my number
so
line.
it doesn't have to be-
We just gotta put the answers down.
That makes more sense.
Okay, these are just the answers I get here. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. Do not solve them, but I want you to separate this equation out into your 2 equations. Take the absolute value equation and separate it out into 2. Is that a -10?
It doesn't look like one because I had a squeeze in it.
Okay. So like up here, I said x minus 1 equals 2. X minus 1 equals -2. That's what we set up here.
Yeah, but then what about this one?
But here, x plus 3 equals 10. X plus 3 equals -10. Those are the 2 we need to set up here. Okay. All right, our 2 equations. Amy, what did you write? Okay, so we have x plus 3 equals a +10 and x plus 3 equals a -10. Does it matter which one you do first? No, it does not matter which one you do first, okay? But these are the 2 equations that we need to solve. Okay. Are you okay with these 2 equations? Okay. So now let's focus on this one right here. X plus 3 equals 10. How do we need to get x by itself? We need to subtract 3 so that we get 7.
You have to show your work for that.
I'll be okay. I need to at least see the x plus 3 equals 10. Bare minimum, I need to see this and this. Okay, now we have x plus 3 equals -10. This time when we subtract 3, we get -13. Okay. Check. Is the absolute value of -13 plus 3 equal to 10?
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Why didn't we check the other one?
We did. 7 plus 3 and the absolute value, is that equal to 10?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we have negative 13 and positive 7. All right, this is getting too easy. Too easy. Okay, let's look at this one right here.
Whoa, man, you added another step.
Thank you for recognizing that. I added another step. The absolute value is not by itself. Well, I don't know why, but it's not. And I cannot split into two equations unless we have an absolute value equals a number. So before we can do our splitting into two, we're going to have to write this as the absolute value of x minus 12 equals 15. How did I get that? Because I took this one and I added it. So here, let's do this. So the absolute value of x minus 12 equals 15. Okay, now that we have the absolute value isolated, we can say, okay, what's inside the absolute value equals 15, or what's inside the absolute value equals negative 15.
So like you just add the one or do whatever first.
Yep. So you need to do whatever operations that give your absolute value all by itself. All right, so here x equals 27. And over here, x equals -3. We're gonna have fun plotting those numbers. Mm-hmm. And we gotta make sure we check our answers. You know what? I want you to check your answers for us. Silently. Check your answers. When you check your answers, make sure you go all the way back to the very beginning where we started. Hi. Have something from me. Awesome. Thank you. All right. And then -27. Oh, thanks. So -3. 0. There we go. There are two answers. Yeah, I counted. Well, from -3 to 27 is going to be 30.
Well, I
Okay, your next job for me.
That's a
I would like you to, in this problem right here, and then separate them into your two equations and stop. Isolate the absolute value, split it into two equations, then stop. Because you are not doing what I asked you to do.
That's a big question. That's right.
Yes.
I don't know, man, ask her.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, Colin.
Wouldn't it, what if the negative, would it be, -8?
Nope.
-8 from.
You have to subtract 3 to both sides to get
Yeah.
2.
But, but -5.
You cannot do,
plus
you can't,
-3.
no. You have to get this by itself first. Like your first step needs to be to subtract 3 to both sides. So we get the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 2. Now. Okay, so Colin asked a good question. We have to get that 3 over to the other side before we can split this into our two equations. So we subtract the 3. Now that we have the absolute value all by its lonesome, now we can say, all right, x minus 2 equals 2 and x minus 2 equals -2. So we have x equals 4 and x equals 0. There's no such thing as -0.
Well, I'm getting the same thing.
Now, hey, we're not done. We gotta check the absolute value of 4 minus 2. And then we add 3. Does that equal 5? Okay, let's check. If we put 0 in for x, we get the absolute value of -2 plus 3. Does that equal 5?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good.
What?
All right, people, we have one more example to suffer through.
Suffer is a good term.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys are being very whiny, right?
We'll see. I'm gonna
No, this is your notes today. I'm gonna tell you that you can either tape it in your journal or just like keep it there. All right. No, this is like for you to look at. Okay, let's look at this one right here. Is the absolute value by itself? No. Okay, so I'm gonna subtract 3. The absolute value of 2x minus 1 equals -1. Okay. Does it help? Okay, so now what do we do?
We to get it, find the solution, temporary solution, put
Okay.
down
So 2x minus 1 equals,
-1,
and 2x minus 1 equals,
1.
okay. So here, if I add the 1 over, I get 0. So when we divide by 2, we get x equals. Okay. Over here, if I add the 1, 2x equals 2. So x equals 1. Don't get too ahead of me, people. Don't get too ahead of me, people.
people.
Like, am I plotting these on my number line? No, then you shouldn't be.
I'm not. No,
Chill out.
she hasn't done that yet.
Okay, let's go back up to the very first. 2x minus 1 inside the absolute value plus 3 equals 2. Okay, so I have a question because I'm checking x equals 0 right now. What's 2 times 0? Okay, 0 minus 1. So I have the absolute value of -1 plus 3. Does that equal 2? It doesn't equal 2. Let's come over here. If we check the absolute value of 2x minus 1 plus 3 equals 2. So, hold on. We have the absolute value of 1 plus 3 equals 2. Again. I knew. Extraneous. I knew before we did this problem. I knew before we separated this out that this was going to happen. I knew right here.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes. Who can raise their hand and tell me how I knew right here that this was not going to fly? Colin.
It's because, negative, eggs, but -1.
The -1.
Yeah.
Can an absolute value equal -1?
No.
No, an absolute value is always positive. So if an absolute value equals a negative number, okay. So no solution. No solution. None. You did. Okay, so this is what you can do. So like what I did with mine is I grabbed 2 pieces of tape, and on that page 21, I just taped that back portion into it so I could still like see all my examples. Or you could just put it in the crease of your book. I don't care. But I have 2 things of tape up here to where if you want some tape, Sophia took 1 and Blue Table took 1. You can tape it in or you can just put it in. Okay? Estelle, what is our homework tonight? What kind of problems? So, okay, people, just be quiet. Book homework. I have the book page in Google Classroom. Your gold sheet has the problems. It also says it in Google Classroom. And the solutions are there because I want you to check your answers. Yes, do the work. If you have only